listeners, and we're right on 3:30.
Is it 3:30?
3:30.
Wow.
So usually we do this at noon, but we had to change up a few things today, and we're really excited to have today's guest, Farmer Lee John.
Yes, I'm actually very excited about it because it's such of a sensitive subject and an important one. The knowing of the land we're living around, vegetable, and how to grow vegetable, the nutrition of vegetable. Being a chef for a long time, even in a restaurant, I always create this kind of a relationship, very close relationship with my farmer and producer, and especially with the people who grow my vegetable. And it was very specific, the quality of the product, and it became almost like this family of people around yourself. So, but I'm really excited on meeting this phenomenal person. Denise is going to enlighten us into the world of vegetable, not just about the world of vegetable, but also the world of growing vegetable, because it's not just about the product, is the world around it. Okay, so it's very exciting.
So Farmer Lee Jones, he actually, I guess, started over 30 years ago in regenerative farming. So they don't call themselves organic farmers. It's more in going back to the way things were. So there's no need for pesticides. So these actual vegetables are better tasting. They have more nutrients. And anyone that's followed us before knows that that's what we talk about. We talk about cooking properly with your vegetables to keep the nutrients, being able to source them, and to have a healthy life. And that's what Anita Dario Adventures is. It's around food, it's around travel, and inspiring you to live the Mediterranean lifestyle from anywhere. So now we're going to bring on Farmer Lee Jones. I keep wanting to call him John, but you'll never forget him because he's got these overalls with this really neat bow tie, and he's such a wonderful man. And if you ever get a chance to go over there and follow him as well, and they're also known as the Chef Garden. So we're going to bring him on now.
Wow, look at it. Oh, wow.
The Chef Garden. Hi, Farmer Lee. How are you? Oh, I love that. That's perfect.
Hey, good afternoon.
How are you doing today?
If I was any better, I don't think I could contain myself.
I love it. I love the setting too. Look at all those vegetables. Unbelievable. So we briefly just explained a little bit about what you do before you came on.
Oh, great.
So we'd love to get a little bit more details. What is regenerative farming?
Oh, regenerative farming. You know, I think it's the newest buzzword.
Yeah.
I think that it was sustainable farming. But when you think about sustainable, it's sort of, I like regenerative better. Sustainable, if you break that word down, it means to sustain, to hang on. But in regenerative farming, you think of rebuilding, regrowing, thinking about the future. It's always been in a farmer's wheelhouse to want to leave the land in better condition for future generations. And that's still a really big part of regenerative agriculture. But I think that we have to factor in so much more. We have a saying that it's healthy soil, healthy vegetables, healthy people, healthy environment. And so we really kind of try and encompass that whole thing. But you know, if we can't create a profit, which is not a dirty word, so that the team members on the farm want to be able to stay here and stay on the farm so that we can get the best and the brightest. There used to be a saying in farming that, well, if you can't make it in the real world, at least you can go back and work on the farm. It was not looked at as a real highly sought after profession. But we have some amazing people here. And if we can't create a situation where we can pay them and in a way, we're at a wage and give them the benefits and hospitalization and vacation time and holiday days and paid days off, so that their families can follow their dreams and have the homes of their choices and the automobiles of their choices and go on those vacations. The good people go someplace else. So we kind of look at regenerative agriculture. I think you tend to think of it all as soil, but it's so important that we think about people in this and environment and rebuilding that soil. It's pretty horrific if you look, Google, there's tons of information. From 1930 to 2020, the nutritional level in vegetables has gone down by over 50%. and it's continuing to go down at an increasing rate. That's not sustainable, and that's certainly not regenerative. And so what's exciting is finding ways that we can not only present that land in better conditions, but also to be able to grow vegetables that regenerate life and health in society, because 50% decrease in 70 years or 80 years, it's not sustainable. So we're really excited about some of the work we're doing here on the farm.
And you've been doing it for over 30 years, haven't you?
Yeah, all of my life. And I got to work every single day with my father. My brother works here with me. It's a family farm. We're located right along Lake Erie in Huron, Ohio. We're right along 80% of the world's water supply, the world's water supply. And guess what's happening? It's growing amazing algal bloom that's stopping up the drains. And we're actually, in some cases, having to shut the water systems off because we can't provide fresh water because of all the algal bloom. I'm working this backwards and working up the chain. Why is that happening? As we use, and I say we, I mean society, because we're adamantly opposed to genetically modified growing. The farmers are using genetically modified crops, which means that when they plant the seed, they spray, and it kills everything that's alive other than the genetically modified seed. Why do they do that? They're doing that to be able to wipe out the weed population that competes for the available nutrients, for the water, for the light, for space in the row. But what happens is, and people I don't think understand, there's more life underneath of the ground surface than above. And guess what? We're killing that. So when they put the fertilizer in, the biology is not there to be able to break that down into a form that the plant can pick it up, and that we can't pick it up because it doesn't exist in the plant. So what's really exciting is, and you know, we jokingly talk about, hey, I need to get some vitamin D. I'm going to go out and get some sunshine. There's so much more truth to that than people even understand. And what's really cool is that we're doing lab analysis. In fact, where I'm at right now is in an R&D lab right in the middle of the field on the farm. It's the biggest investment in the history of the farm. And we're measuring the soils and testing the soil levels, finding out what those mineral levels are and what they're deficient in. And what's really cool is, based on those deficiencies, and it's our personal belief, not trying to cast my aspersions. You can call it Mother Nature, you can call it whatever you want. It's our personal belief that God designed a system far superior to anything we can fake out chemically or synthetically. It's about working in harmony with nature rather than trying to outsmart it. So when we find out what those mineral deficiencies are, guess what? Half of the acreage. It's an unprecedented commitment to rebuilding the soil naturally. Different types of plants will accept different types of nutrients from the sun. So it could be alfalfa, barley, buckwheat, rye, clover. We have a 15 species planting that we're planting into the soil, harvesting the sun's energy. And then the next year, when we plant all these amazing vegetables into it, it picks that back up. We're seeing some results as high as 300 to 500 times higher than the USDA average.
Wow.
There's hope. We can turn this around. It's exciting.
Yeah, that's such an interesting story, because it's so true. The nutrients that are being lost in the soil. We actually watched a show, and I'm trying to see here what it was called. Kiss the Ground. Have you seen that one on Netflix?
Yeah, it's spot on.
Yeah, and it was interesting because we have, you know, little small patches of garden in there, and that we started, of course, the COVID garden.
Yeah, of course.
And that really turned our eyes, because the first year what we did is we turned the soil, we used fertilizers, and we did have larger products, but they didn't taste quite as good than what we've seen before, and really understanding. And so last year we had smaller product, but it wasn't quite as uniform, but it was so delicious. And I'm sure if we would have brought that to your labs, you probably would have said, you know, probably more nutrient dense, because the flavors were there. And for us, in all our recipes and everything we do, we look for, you know, the flavor and the nutrients, and we feel that's so important. That's why we wanted to have you on so badly, because you speak our language 100%.
It's a bit more than that. It's a bit more than that. And I'm so glad that I finally meet someone. I'll tell you a story. When in a restaurant, I mean, I've been a chef for almost 40 years around the world. And
you must have started when you were 6.
Oh, I'll send you the check is on the mail. You know, the most important thing that I always said, and I remember telling to my cooks, the farmer spends 9 months to really create something special. The Mother Nature allowed us to come. And we, as cook, as consumer, have a responsibility to respect it. Because in 5 seconds, we can screw up the product. Give you an example. So we always say the product does not have to be the same. Organic does not mean the same. And I don't understand that word either, because I grew up in Europe, I grew up in Italy, where the product comes as it is. But the respect of the soil, it's the most important thing. It is everything, the foundation of everything. And the mineral then you control on your soil it's the outcomes of the product at the end of it. And it's really amazing that you really build us research, understanding that, and really create the movement, really, because it's a movement, I believe, of people that understand what we put into our system. It's very important. We often talk, whatever product you purchase and it goes to your plate, it needs to be analyzed perfectly and it needs to be understood. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had Ferran Adria here to visit us about 10 years ago. Charlie Trotter brought him. God rest his soul.
Yeah, I know both of them very well.
Yeah. And Ferran said, we've explored every species of fish, of poultry, of beef, of lamb that exists in the world. But there are literally thousands of plants and vegetables to be explored. And that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And here we are with 11 Madison Park in New York City. One of the number one restaurants in the world is saying, hey, plant-based is going to be the future. The ripple effect of that is profound. And it's exciting to think about that. And it is. I've heard chefs over the years say that the most important thing that they can do is not screw the plant up. And they get a good vegetable in, don't screw it up. Keep it simple. When we lost the family farm when I was 19 years old, interest rates at 22%. We had a hailstorm and it wiped everything out. I stood with my parents and my brother and sister, all of our neighbors, all of our competitors. They auctioned the entire farm off, right down to my mother's car and our home and the farm, every tractor. And we started over. And very early on, we met a fellow by the name of Jean-Louis Paladin.
Oh my goodness.
From the Watergate Hotel. And he said, if you want to grow for me, you must grow for the flavor. The food in America is shit.
Yeah, it is very much like that. It was.
Yeah, he was very gregarious. But Earl Butz, the Secretary of Agriculture at that time in the United States, was saying, get bigger, get out. And here's Jean-Louis coming in to the Watergate Hotel and saying, grow for the flavor. Agriculture was just blowing up. It was driving the economic engine in the United States. And so everybody was kind of laughing at him saying, who is this guy? He's coming into our country and but he was so spot on. And what he was talking about really resonated most with my father, because what he was looking for had existed in America, but we allowed it to slip away. Where our food was coming from, who was growing it, how they were growing it, what varieties they were growing for the flavor and the integrity and the flavor. And so Jean-Louis and Alain Ducasse and Jean-Georges von Richten and Daniel Boulou and Thomas Keller and Charlie Trotter and so many thousands of chefs that grow for flavor first, flavor second, flavor third. So for the 40 years, we've been focused on working to increase the natural flavors in vegetables. We had a hypothesis that as we were working to create natural flavor, which is really about balance in the soil, and then selecting the right varieties and then handling those products right. Not voodoo, not GMO, not any crazy stuff, just good fundamental agriculture. We had a hypothesis that we were bringing the nutrient levels with that. We believe today, like Hippocrates, thousands of years ago, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. We visualize in the near future that doctors will be writing scripts, pharmacy people will be writing scripts for vegetables rather than a medicine. And we believe that that's the future.
This is speaking our language.
This is speaking our language. You can speak on, both myself and Anita are the consumption of vegetable and and the research of the vegetable has always been a very important part in our diets specifically, but not just for us, for our consumers. But it's not just that's in understanding, because there was a study came out that we were looking, and people spend more money on medication than actually nutrition, which is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. We do not consume any medication, and I believe in our medication. And we get up in the morning, the first thing we do is water and lemon, natural remedy. I mean, this is not rocket science. Okay. And then, Anita does juicing, and the juicing, which is an important part, and you can talk about it, is natural, is the natural vitamin that is into the vegetable. That's it. I mean, if that is not the perfect medication, what is it?
Yeah. So we love to do juice pairing with our meals. So whenever we create a recipe, we have a wine pairing and we have a juice pairing. And so my mom has been juicing since I was a kid. Every dinner, she would put a whole bunch of vegetables in the juicer, and we had to drink it right away because we'd lose the vitamins. And so I've always done it all my life. And Dario said, why don't we do it as a pairing structure? Because we can accent the flavor of a meal. So let's say, an example, a certain type of pasta or
fish.
And Dario will say, you know what, fennel will accent that. So then I will create a juice around the fennel. So someone has a choice if they want to do a juice or they want to do a wine. And we offer that because it's so important to get those nutrients in you, and then have it done the right way. Because like you said, so many products you can get nowadays, they're like rubber. There's nothing to them. There's no flavor. There's no nutrients left in it. So what you're doing is so important. And this organic ordeal as well, like you mentioned, it's important to have the soil done properly and to be able to grow it properly, that you don't need to have pesticides. It doesn't need to be organic. It's just in how you're actually creating the crops, right?
Well, that's right. And we're doing some testing. The model, and I'm not here to knock any other farmer. There's other farmers out there that are doing great work. And unfortunately, the model in America is based around producing as many tons per acre as you can, keep the costs as low as possible. In that model, it's all about producing the biggest, the largest, the most tons per acre. What we're finding in our studies, in our research here is that the larger the product gets, which gets you the higher yield, the lower the nutritional levels. We're finding that the smaller the product, even into the microgreen stages, is where we're getting the most intense and the highest levels. And of course, the superfoods, the watercress, the arugula, the kale, Chinese cabbages, any of these that we can consume small, we're getting higher levels. One of the other things is that, and I think the juicing is great because it's a great way to get a lot of vegetable into your system. I would highly recommend the Vitamix if you're using the ones where you're just getting the juice and not the pulp.
No, I don't. I do the pulp as well. I tell people they can do it both ways, but to do it with the pulp, to me, is the most important. Yeah. So with all our recipes, juicing recipes, we do that. Yeah.
That's great. And the other thing is don't do everything as a juice, because they're finding some research now that the chewing, the actual process of chewing and the saliva for the gut biome. And that's really, really critical, because all health comes from the gut. Yeah. And so it's really, really a critical part. But healthy soil, healthy vegetables, healthy people, healthy environment. I'll give you one quick example. We're so concerned with the environment. We have a neighbor that produces hundreds of acres of popcorn. As a byproduct of popcorn, he has hundreds of tons of corn cobs. Now, back in the day, we knew what to do with corn cobs. Unfortunately, they don't know what to do with corn cobs today. But maybe you get, I know you don't, but I know he may remember what to do with the corn cob.
I do.
Yeah, okay. But they were paying to haul them 8 miles away and then get rid of them as a waste product. Yeah. We have a 4-acre greenhouse, and we're now paying him $26 a ton to deliver them less than 1 mile. And we're using those to heat boilers, to heat water. And we ran 1 million foot of tubing through the ground to heat the greenhouse. And then we recycle the water and reheat it. And we heat the entire greenhouse with the corn cobs. So we're not using any fossil fuels. So environment, people, soil, it's all got to tie together. And we got to think about the whole big picture.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
Oh, it is.
You know, it's so exciting. I feel so good listening to people like yourself because you know it's the belief. You know, I go back to an old generation of my grandmother in Italy. They did believe the old style. The pesticide was not such a thing. And you know, if the vegetable were not similar, that were the right vegetable to eat. We grow everything in our backyard, and it was so important. And really understanding how you transmit it to the consumer, for example. You know, I'll give you an example. You know, if you grow fennel bulbs, or, you know, the little baby fennels, or naturally, you know, what is the flavor of that fennel is not necessarily, yeah, it is on the top, but the root part of the fennel has an incredible amount of flavor. So, for example, at the restaurant, we used to have our farmer, 100% no pesticide, and I used to go down, not very far from where we were, close to Niagara Falls, and he used to say, I want all the fennel bulbs and roots attached with the dirt. And he was saying to me, he said, are you nuts? I said, why would you want to do that? I said, again, goes back to the thing, we need to respect you for what you have done for us for the past 9 months. And my cooks and the producers, they need to understand what it takes to fill that soil. But then what he would do, he would leave that soil alone for a year because he needed to naturally reconstitute himself and focus in 2 years down the road. So it's an investment, but it's an investment for our future. This is what, you know, we always hope that our viewers understand. Your body is your future. Whatever goes into your system is your life. Guys like you should be commended because you are the pharmaceutical we need. Nothing else. Nothing else. And us as cooks, I mean, we were doing an event many years ago with all the chefs around the world in Italy. And one of the most important things was really to represent the simplicity of products and just let them enhance like that. You know, a carrot, if it's a good carrot, doesn't need nothing else. Nothing else. Sometimes it doesn't even need salt or pepper because its natural sweetness needs to just be established as such. So
and cooking food is really important too, that you don't, some people, they overcook things so much or destroy it as well. So this one other thing I wanted to talk about was you have something where you actually sell the seeds and you teach people how to do their own little gardens too, do you not?
Well, I'm going to go back just a second because, you know, one of the things on research that we found is when we cook food or vegetables, we're losing 50% of the nutritional value. Yeah. When I look back at some of the wonderful meals my grandmother prepared, she cooked them all day and they were absolutely fabulous. But my guess is there was not much nutritional value left. Yeah. When we do cook it al dente, cook it gently, cook it short, keep it a little bit crunchy. My key suggestions are eat it raw and eat the rainbow are really critical to that. The gardening thing, we introduced a book. The short answer is it took 3 years. Our chef here on the farm, we built a facility called the Culinary Vegetable Institute.
Yes.
Where traditionally people can come and we do public dinners. Right now we're only doing private dinners, but it's normally a place where we have about 600 visiting chefs a year. But about 3 years and 100 recipes in this book, almost 700 pages. The short answer is 3 years, but it's a 40-year accumulation of our mistakes and our mishaps and trials and tribulations and hopefully a few successes. We do talk about how to be able to prepare even a small garden. Wherever you're at right now, it's the fall season and you can still get rye, a winter rye in as a cover crop. And if you can imagine those plants as an antenna harvesting the energy from the sun as well, it'll hold the soil in so you don't get the wind erosion. It's not too late. Are you guys in California?
No, we're in Canada.
We're not very far from you.
Okay. You know, we're only 56 miles from Leamington.
Oh, perfect.
We're right across the pond.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So it's not too late to get some winter rye in and be able to, that'll take off and grow in the spring. So yeah, there are some tips in the book as far as gardening. It's exciting. The Victory Gardens after World War II were an explosive time for vegetables, but what's exciting is last year there were more gardens planted than in the history of the United States. More vegetable seeds sold last year than in the history of the United States. You know, the pandemic has been devastating for all of us. We've lost loved ones, we've lost friends, family. It's been a tough time for all of us. But we've got to look for those silver linings. And one for me as a farmer is, you know, kids love to emulate parents. And the parents were planting gardens last year. And so the kids wanted to help. And so my hope is that we've created a whole nother generation of gardeners as one of the unexpected consequences of the pandemic. And you know, we've got to look for those silver linings somewhere and find some good out of this mess. So yeah, it's been a crazy 20 months.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Well, that's what I find for us. I mean, my parents, they always gardened, and they actually had award-winning gardens to the extent they weren't farmers. And we always respected vegetables, but even more so now, the last 2 years, we've turned all our flowers and everything else, we made it all into gardens. So that's what we made into. And of course, we can't get all our produce from there, but the quality and the respect that you have, as Dario talks about, for what you do, it's just so important. And in us watching the Netflix show that we did see, that's one of the things that they said to start with, is to start understanding it, start doing a small little garden that you can sort of have something and understand and respect and learn. And then also look to the right products with the right nutrients and the right flavors and seasonality as well, right?
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things we really try and emphasize in the book is, I think that we've been kind of preconditioned from marketing, billions of dollars of marketing, that this is the size, this is the shape that we eat something. And one of the sayings here on the farm is, at every single stage of the plant's life, it offers something unique to the plate. You know, unless you've lived under a rock for the last 3 years, you know that there's a 40% food waste issue in America. And I think that goes beyond, but I also think that that's very understated. If you think about a Brussels sprout, it's this 4.5 feet tall plant. It's one of the most majestic and beautiful plants, but all as we eat is just the Brussels sprout off of the stalk. And you have all this energy, all this love, all these nutrients, everything going into growing this beautiful plant. And it's got these nice canopy of leaves that come down to cover. And why are they there? Nature provides those to keep the Brussels sprout from being sunburned. But all we do is pick the Brussels sprout off. You know, in European countries, we learned over thousands of years of survival to use every part of an animal. We ate the gelatin between the hooves, the oxtail, the eyeballs, the ears, the tongues. Every part of it was respected and used. What better way to be able to celebrate the plant than to be able to look at that plant in an entirely different way than we're marketed? The leaves. I would defy any of your viewers. Look at Brussels sprouts are in the cruciferous family. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, all in the same family. Collard greens. If you were blindfolded, you would not be able to tell the difference in a collard green and a Brussels sprout leaf. You also can take the outer leaf off of that Brussels sprout and you can use the vegetable marrow. It's exciting. We don't have to waste any of it. And the rest can go in the roots, the vegetable stock.
Yeah.
You know, I like the way you said it. Vegetable marrow. I like that.
We don't waste anything.
So let me tell you something that, you know, I always believed in it. Because I really the strong belief is there is a purpose on that vegetable, there is a purpose on that product, and it takes a long time. You know, people, for example, like you just said, and I'm glad you said it because you took the word out of my mouth. You know, they only use the perfect part, but they forget about the rest. My favorite part of the broccoli, for example, is not necessarily the flower.
Broccoli, not broccolo.
Broccolo.
It's Italian.
It is actually the stem.
Yeah.
You know, for example, in Italy, we call it the topinamburo, Jerusalem artichoke. It's not in so much, I mean, it's great inside. The best part is the skin. The skin of the Jerusalem, look at that, yeah.
Hey, looks good.
Or sunchoke. They were actually, you could be fined if you were caught with these on your farm in the 40s because they considered it an invasive species of weed. And now we cultivate them and grow them, and they're just a fabulous. I agree with you. We peel a carrot, we peel a beet, we peel an artichoke, we peel a peach, we peel an apple. We throw away the most nutritious part of the plant.
There we go.
Absolutely.
There we go. I've done so a few years ago, there was an event we were doing, and there was one of the dishes was involving Jerusalem artichoke. And this colleague of mine that was from Europe, he came in and said, okay, so well, I said, hold on a second. We have all this skin of Jerusalem artichoke. What are we going to do with them? Wow. I said, let me take care of them. Okay, let's look into the nutritional part.
Yeah.
So I went away and I started making this sauce. Okay. Then it was a combination, like a Jerusalem artichoke for our viewers. Does not come from artichoke. It's from the sunflower family. Okay.
It's a rhizome under the ground.
Exactly.
You've driven along in the country and seen it, didn't even know what it was. It's a 4.5, 5, 6 feet tall plant, and it's got a little flower that looks like a miniature sunflower. If you were to dig down with your shovel, you would find the most amazing rhizomes.
Oh
so what did you do with it, Chef?
We made a sauce. Okay. Then I had a combination. So basically, you just extract the nutrients of the skin. One part was cooked, and the remaining part was actually juice. Was an extraction of just of the skin, and combined it with. You wouldn't believe what we combined it with. Sea urchin.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, even my colleagues said, oh my God. I said, that is the nutrients. That is the nutrients that every single day we throw in the garbage. Apples, fruits, vegetable, they are important, then we respect them. And we respect them in a way that, and we do with our recipe. We do with our recipe when we showcase them.
Even the squash.
Yeah.
The squash, this is a koji, and this is a new hybrid. We're working with Row 7 up in upstate New York. And this is a smaller version, so it can fit on the plate, but the skin on the squash is edible. We eat the skin of the squash too.
Yeah, we just did a recipe on that just the other day, right? Where we used the actual skin of the squash as well. So.
We done it for a television in Italy, and we actually used the skin of the squash, and understanding we use the word umami so kind of almost like a fashion statement, but what umami means is the fifth element of flavor. Okay, that fifth element, and the umami 99.9% comes from where? From the skin, the natural habitat of that vegetable. So I'm glad you really exposed that because it's really fundamental for our viewer, for anyone to really understand. Then that vegetable growth is so important. It's so important.
But all of this energy goes into a big part of the plant that normally is wasted. Here's a great example.
Wow.
For thousands of years, we only ate the top of a carrot. In the last 300 years, we only eat the bottom. You can replace the carrot top with basil for carrot pesto. Instead of the basil, you can put the carrot top in. Yeah. It's amazing. It's loaded with nutrient, and we cut it off and we throw it away. So it's really exciting. Even the carrot top has a great place in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So
on the plate.
So everything there can be used. Everything there can be used, basically. If something has a little bit of more of a bitter flavor that you're not liking, there's something else you can substitute or cook. But I mean, for the most part, 100% of that can be used, right?
Absolutely.
It's almost important, and you can probably tell us I think everybody almost need a seminar to some of your farm. Every human being, instead to go for a holiday in the Caribbean, should
That's going to be our next. Usually we do retreats to Italy, so now we're going to be coming over to you and bring our clients. There we go.
We should bring some clients. But no, the importance. What I'm talking about is the importance of really relating to our health. We're talking about food. We're talking about health. We're talking about longevity. It's right there on your table. It's all there. It's all there. But people sometimes don't understand it, and they get a little confused. They get intimidated. Oh my God, what am I going to do with that? I don't know what to do. Well, less is more, and we understood that. And that's what you are giving us. So I think people should really spend more time, listening to you, maybe coming for a visit and learning more of what is under our feet.
Mm-hmm. Well, for the last 40 years, 100% of our business has been direct to restaurants. Right. We ship FedEx wherever a chef wants good quality product. Flavor, exotic, sexy textures, sizes, shapes, colors. And then when the COVID hit, 100% of our business went away. So we pivoted very quickly to home delivery. So individuals could call and get a good, healthy box of vegetables delivered to their homes. And so that really kind of helped us bridge the gap. They can go to farmerjonesfarm.com and be able to order a box, and we'll pick it right here on the farm and ship it directly to the front porch of your condo, of your country home, wherever you happen to be. If you want to gift it and get a subscription, you know, we all have folks in our lives, we want to get them a gift, but what do you get them? They already have 2 of everything. Get them a subscription that says you care about their life and their health and their well-being, and you'd like them to be around for another 30 years. So it's the restaurants are returning. We're continuing now to fulfill for the restaurants, but as well, we're seeing lots of orders come in for families that want to be able to get good, healthy stuff. We're really excited. We just hired a gal onto our team. She started this week. She's a doctor from the Mayo Clinic, and she and her husband and children have relocated and come here. She's a doctor of pharmacy, and she has spent her entire life on the holistic, plant-based, plant-forward future. And we're really excited to have her here to work closely with us to be able to make recommendations. And we see it as developing a healthy lifestyle rather than promoting diets. But we think that so many of the vegetables can help with different ailments or prevent us from having those ailments in the first place. We're really excited about Dr. Amy being on board.
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear.
Anita's laughing right now because she knows the way I feel about diets. I don't think there is such a thing. I think it's about moderation, and it's about research of product, and it's, you know, your diet is right there around you.
Just balanced lifestyle. That's what it is.
That's
and that's what's so important, right? So
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. So we're running out of time now, but I think we could probably talk to you for another couple hours. We're going to have you come back on and do that. But where can people find you again? What's the website?
Well, they can go to farmerjonesfarm.com, or they can go to the Chef's Garden. And one of the things we did was open an Airbnb because the chefs weren't coming in during COVID. So we have an Airbnb at the Culinary Vegetable Institute. So just like you said, people are coming and spending some time right on the farm. They can get a chef's picnic basket, and we can really build that stay around anything they want to do.
I think we need to start by us coming out, and then we will bring a group out so that we have some experience and knowledge of what it's like there. So
we are supposed to, you know what? I think that should be our option. I think we are supposed to be somewhere else. I think we're going to come down because that will be my perfect habitat. I mean, I will be like a kid in a candy store, you know, in a good way. It's great, and you really not just pivot it, but really open people's eyes and you know, one carrot at a time.
One carrot at a time. You know, I love it.
And one bite at a time. Yeah.
But I think it's for myself and for our business. It's such of an invigorating factor to listen to that, because we really do believe in this. We do believe in this movement of natural health that is just under our eyes. And you really are a proven point of that. And we hope that everyone out there around the world, not just around America or Canada, but I'm talking the world in general, they really take note of what you're just saying to us and what you're practicing every single day. The medication is not the cure. The medication is under your feet every single day.
Well, my dad always had a saying that the best fertilizer the farmer can put on his ground is that on the bottom of his shoe. And that was about being intimate and being in tune with your soil. Please, all your listeners, stay in touch with us on Instagram, Farmer Lee Jones on Instagram, and keep us posted on what's going on in your healthy lifestyle choices. And I really hope to see you guys down on the farm very soon.
Oh, you will.
Love that.
That's a promise for sure.
Happiest holidays. Just hope you have a healthy,
happy
new year. Thank
you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Farmer Lee.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.